Welcome to the Women Inspire Aspire podcast. In this episode, we are talking to Deeksha Kharbanda on public relations. Hi, Diksha. Thank you for accepting my invite to appear in the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm great. I'm great. It is my honor to be here.
Okay, it's my pleasure to have you at the show because you are an SEO expert. So I'm all ears to hear about your SEO tips and recommendations moving forward. But first, let's hear about your background, where you're from, what you do, etc.
Yeah, sure. I'm a Punjabi girl. I am from Chandigarh. I've always had a wish for writing since 8th class. It basically started from writing a letter to my best friend. Since then, I know I had something with words. Later on with my life, when it was time to graduate, I had the choice of doing BA with journalism. I chose that I would go for journalism since my dad was running a PR agency. So I thought, why not? After that, as soon as I got done with my graduation, for 6 months I wasn't doing anything because I didn't know what to do, what to pursue, because I had too many options in mass communication and journalism. You have TV, you have advertising, you have journalists in newspapers, and a lot of other things. So there was a lot to choose, and I was so confused. I used to constantly ask myself what you like, what you want to do, but I was not getting any conclusion. So one day I just sat down and asked myself, what skill do I have? The answer was content writing. I started applying jobs on LinkedIn, and the first one that I got in Delhi, I ran after it. I immediately joined that job. 6 months into it, I went complete insane in learning things and getting just about know everything. I never was a job person, so I always planned that for 6 months I'll just learn and leave and then do something of myself. But then when I resigned and came back, I got a call from my director that either you come back or you take work from home. So I was like, okay, I'm good with work from home. It has been 3 years that I'm working with them. Though I resigned in October, I joined as a junior content writer and I resigned as a senior content strategist. And after coming back from there, I wanted to grow. I wanted to learn more things in the same field. Took up a digital marketing course. I went to YouTube. I watched a lot of videos. Then I got into SEO, and that's how I found my path towards freelancing and digital PR as well.
Okay, that sounds great. And we're happy that you have found your way finally and you're working on the stuff that you really like. Now let's talk a bit about SEO. Okay, so when you say SEO, is it about the website SEO or the SEO in LinkedIn and other social media platforms that you specialize in? And what are your experiences? Can you share some tips and recommendations for the users on the same?
Of course, of course. So basically, I learned SEO on a whole. What I really understood and what I wanted to go in was for SEO on page for websites, for SEO on LinkedIn. On the websites, if you ask me the recommendation, one tip that I learned the hard way is you should never use one keyword more than 4 times on one page. It should not go from two to four. If you have a content piece of 2000 words, then you can put the keyword for 4 times. If you have 800 words, then you can put the keyword for 2 times. I've tried a lot of tools. I've taken free trials of every tool possible before purchasing one. And if you really want to like search the keywords which are going on, Google Search Console is also quite decent for that. If we go for LinkedIn has a very different algorithm. Even when I entered LinkedIn, I just had 850 connections without posting anything. There was a lot that I didn't understand about LinkedIn. But there were some professional people who helped me understand these things, and I also started learning. And recently, a post of mine hit impressions of 1,20,000. So I was amazed by that, but I learned whatever is on the trend, if you write something real and different and your take about it, takes the impressions away. About SEO on LinkedIn, so I got my LinkedIn optimized from someone from LinkedIn only. After that, my LinkedIn just boomed. She used the right keywords from her, then I learned how keywords work on LinkedIn. It's easier for people to find you with the right keywords. For example, if I am an SEO expert and my headline and my description does not have SEO, then there's no point of me selling my services on LinkedIn. Whatever the recruiter or the researcher think while searching anyone which are referring to the similar services as yours, those are your major keywords which you have to play on. Like my PR, my SEO, content writing, designing, and everything. And I have all of that in my description and my heading. So if anybody searches PR or SEO and everything, I would be in the list.
Oh, great. So thank you so much for sharing those inputs. So I have some follow-up questions. First is when we talk about SEO, there are several things that are being said about long tail keywords, more impact than a couple of words. So can you share your input or experiences about, or giving an example about how this works and how really long
Yeah.
tail keywords are beneficial?
Basically, why long tail keywords are beneficial more than the short tail keywords is because the majority of the people are descriptive about what they are searching on Google. For example, if I am searching that I want black shoes for women. Now, this is a long tail keyword. If I talk about short tail keyword of this, then it will be black shoes. Now, black shoes can be female, it can be male, it can be kids. But if I type black shoes for women, then I will get the specification right. If I have a brand and I'm selling black shoes, and in my blogs on page and off page, I have mentioned, I've used the keyword black shoes for women, then it would rank right. So you have to go into the details of your customer, think how they think. That is where the right keywords you can take on, and that ranks well.
Okay, so I guess that's about the niche for which end user is searching for. So the long keyword, if you have it in your website, then it has more chances of hitting the right
Definitely,
audience.
definitely, yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about Google since you mentioned about Google search. I have a question on that. So
Yeah.
I was just casually looking at the Google search. You might have seen my post a couple of days back. It is about the Google search. People are searching about exams, very common topics, and which are very, very trending. I'm sure that they are very trendy, but
Yeah.
how can one form their social media SEO strategy based on the trends? Because the thing people are searching is so diverse and so unrelated to what you are trying to do. For example, I'm an author. I write books. I want to sell my books and I want to create posts that gel with the audience well, who are young adults who want to buy my books, which is about social stories, like, about societal situations, and which can be bought by the young adults. But obviously, the Google search shows me that most of the search that is done are by young adults, of course. They are looking
Yeah.
for UPSC exams, they are looking for some, trending topic on some IPL matches and things like that. But how am I going to link all that to how can I attract them? For example, my story might not have anything to do with IPL match. So how do you
Yeah.
think those two can be related? How can I make use of the Google trends to make the people come to my website? And especially when we are talking about long tail keywords, it's getting even more specific.
Yeah, Google My Business is the really underrated tool for this. If you set up your Google My Business, you start posting there with the right keywords. The the point that you are talking is you are saying that if I'm using trendy keywords, so everybody is using trendy keywords. How do I rank? Right? That is your question, right?
Yeah, that's exactly my question is.
If everybody is using a common keyword, you have to be everywhere for it. First of all, you define your target audience. What is your target audience that you want to reach to? You try to understand their psychology, you research, interact with such people, and try to understand their mindset. On Google Search Console, look around for similar keywords. As soon as you shortlist your first five keywords, put it in Pinterest, Medium, the on page website, SEO, on page blogs as well, and other tools are also there where there are websites which let you create and upload PPTs, images, a lot of things like this with which you can get your ranking. Backlinking for this is also a tool that you can use. So backlinking basically is that you go on other websites, like I was telling you, where you can upload your presentations, you can upload your pictures and everything. So you can upload your brand pictures, you can give the alt tag of the keywords that you have, and you have to always make sure the images that you're using with your blog have alt tag of your keyword and even the URLs of the blog that you have. So that way, if you put it on your Google posting, Google My Business posting, Pinterest, Medium, website, and other websites for presentations and everything. So that gives you a higher chance of putting your brand's content in the common keyword pool to the ranking.
That's great. In your experience, how effective have you found this method and how long it took for the results to show up?
It really depends from brand to brand. For B2B brand, it is quite easy to rank the keywords. I have worked with B2B brands. I have seen results for SEO within 1 month. So, like, we have brought the SEO score from 77 to 90 within a month. If you go for B2C or D2C brands, it takes minimum of 3 months to show you the results if you are being consistent. And if you really want to understand if your keyword strategy is working, it is maximum 3 to 6 months that you can analyze if you're going right or not. B2C brands are a bit challenging because they have to be around the trends, but B2B brands are easier to rank the SEO, in my experience.
Great. Let's talk a bit about the Google Lighthouse tool. Whenever I try to write in my blog, and there is a SEO tool inbuilt in it, which would make sure that everything is okay with the SEO. And then once I publish the blog, I just go to Google Lighthouse and search, do an analysis, and it shows mostly like 99% or 95%, which is quite impressive. So the percentages that you mentioned just now to reach from 70 to 90, is that the same percentage that we are talking about, or it's a different thing?
I think this is a different percentage that I'm talking about. If you audit your website, it will give you exactly the score of your SEO, the complete audit of your website, where are you going wrong, and what errors that you have to correct in terms of developing, in terms of SEO. These both are the main areas for the website. A score that you are talking about is different.
I see. Okay, great. So thank you so much for sharing the thoughts. It has been really fantastic to talk about these things. It gave some pretty good tips and recommendations on SEO, B2B as well as B2C, etc. Let's talk a bit about public relations, how it is going, and what are the things that you do for public relations?
If I talk on a very introductory aspect, public relations is basically you are a medium between the media and the brand that you're doing PR for. My father is running a PR agency in Chandigarh for over 20 years. But when I got back from Delhi 5, 6 months ago, I joined him. Even in Delhi, I used to do PR, but within the organization, if you are doing PR, it's a very less of work. It's not much of a hassle. You just have to connect with the connections the company already has. But if you are doing PR on an individual basis, you have to build a network of your own. My dad has already built his network from 20 years in Chandigarh, Punjab, and Haryana. So when I came back, what loophole I found was there were less clients of digital PR. And digital PR is something which is on boom right now. Print PR has its value of its own, but people look for digital PR. Like brands look for digital PR more because nowadays people are looking more at the brands digitally. So a brand needs to have the digital presence, digital authenticity. Digital platforms of the media channels as well, the YouTube channels as well, which promote certain kinds of things. Recently, we promoted a song, also a movie. It's a Punjabi movie, Badnaam, had a pool of YouTubers promoted Punjabi music culture. We had them in our network and we invited them, as well as we invited the print media journalists. PR's duty is to get the brand coverage and also to enhance your reputation in the market. So that is what we work upon with the clients. We give them reputation, we give them maximum coverage. PRs are also two types. One is organic, one is paid. Local people go for organic. So around organic, you have to create such kind of events that journalists are eager to get it on their newspapers or their channels, because not every news is worthy of getting onto the channels and papers. So PR's job is to create such a event. If you say a hospital has to do its inauguration, okay, but we also want local newspapers to highlight the event, the inauguration. What I do is I invite a Punjabi singer, since it's happening in Chandigarh. So I will invite a Punjabi singer to come and inaugurate that hospital. The journalists will not come. If I call them for the hospital, they'll be reluctant. But if I call them that Punjabi singers are coming to inaugurate, everybody will come. In that sense, organic PR works that you have to create the press release and the event in such way that the journalists are eager to take your story. The paid one, you just give the money and you get your ad done.
Right. Sounds like a great strategy, and thank you for sharing that. I think you are doing some podcasts also, if I'm not wrong. Is it correct?
Correct, correct.
So, can you tell us about what your podcasts are about and what do you
Sure.
talk about in your
Sure.
podcast?
So I do video podcasts. This I started when I was in my last job when I was in Delhi. They are B2B exhibitions organizing company. Within their exhibitions, they started a series of podcasts. I was the part of that podcast since the very beginning. I have conceptualized and hosted the podcasts. The entire series was conceptualized by me, but I hosted only a few because I wanted other people also wanted from that office to take part in it and host. I have conceptualized and hosted two series. One was Gifts World Expo. It's an exhibition which happens in Delhi, Kolkata, and Bangalore. The other one was Consumer Electronics. So these are the two exhibitions in which we introduced podcast series in which the major brands that were exhibiting with us, we conducted the podcasts with them. So basically, our focus was to create content for our social media to start giving people insights about the B2B brands that do exhibitions and how B2B and B2C brands come together on one platform.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. We have talked a lot about your work. Now let's talk about the fun stuff. What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies and interests?
My hobby is roasting anybody around me. That would be my first priority.
Wow. What makes you roast anybody?
It's fun, like basically, if I tell you honestly, it comes from a background where I got roasted a lot when I was a kid. So that time I didn't know the answers to most of the roasts and I couldn't roast back. And basically, that is the reason, maybe. But yeah, like It is just to have fun with people and talk to people in a fun way. Like if I'm talking to someone and I want to give them a feedback about themselves, that this is the place that you're not going right, this is the place you're going right, I'll just communicate that in a fun way and keeps the environment light. Like in my office, I was the one person who used to, roast people a lot, but people loved talking to me, and I had great connections with everyone just because of this reason that I was fun to be with. Even in school, even in college, this has been the constant thing.
Interesting that you are using the word roast for that. So I am presuming that you are a great dosa maker. All right. Let's
Yeah.
talk a bit about the societal issues that you care about and what are you doing about them.
I have a very emotional connection with dogs. When I was small, I used to see that people in my neighborhood just used to call up the dog hospitals or shelters, and those people would come and take the dogs away. And they were very brutal with them at the time when they were taking them. In a way, they are also giving them shelter, but they're also not being so kind to them. They're also being harsh on them, and even my neighborhood was not very good with dogs. So that created a sense in me to have some emotional connection with dogs. And later on, when I grew up, I find a shelter home which was decent enough in Chandigarh, which actually used to rescue dogs. They didn't force any dog or anything. They used to rescue dogs. So I found them. So initially I didn't have that much of pocket money, or didn't get that much money that I could donate. So I just used to go there and I'd play with the dogs and just take care of them, take food for them. But as I got older and I started earning money, then I started donating, and now I support them. So yeah, that's the societal issue that I vouch for.
That's fantastic. We have a couple of minutes more. So, can you tell us about how this pans out? Because the dog population is also growing. There are too many stray dogs on the streets. So, how do you think this will scale? How are we going to cater for all those dogs?
See, what I feel is not everybody is in favor of, having dogs in the neighborhood. The people who are kind to them, and the people who are not in favor are not kind to them. To be very honest, it's very hard to change the society's mentality regarding this, because I have seen this from my childhood here. The people who don't like dogs don't like dogs. I would say my parents are also one of them. So I have tried my best to, change them, but it just doesn't happen. But the only thing which we as a whole society can do is, at least if you don't like dogs, then at least don't be harsh on them. And those who like, they already feed them and they already are kind to them, they play with them. As we have limited resources to give them shelter and give them resources, it comes more on us as people, as a society, to take care of them. Because as you said, on the street there are a lot of dogs these days. Until and unless people are not coming together to give them resources or provide shelter to them, the least they can do is be kind to them.
Right. Well said. So, we are coming towards the end of the podcast. Do you have any questions for me?
How did you get into this podcast? And also tell me about something, your author journey.
Okay, so I think I should make a podcast on how I got into this. So this question is being asked on every podcast. So it's basically, some of my friends refer to people to talk to, and I enjoy talking to people, and that's how I got into it.
Okay.
The other thing is about the author journey. Author journey started somewhere around COVID. I had some ideas in my mind about what to write about, and some 14 stories came by, and that became my first book. It's called A Pebble Unlistened. It's there in my LinkedIn profile, very prominently displayed in my profile pic, as well as the link is also provided. It's
Okay.
available in Amazon as well as Kindle Unlimited. I would request you to take a look.
Sure, sure, why not?
Okay, great talking to you.
Yeah, likewise.
Thank you so much for appearing in the podcast. I wish you all the best in your work and whatever you aspire to do in your life.
Thank you so much. This is the first podcast that I've been a guest on. I've always invited people on my podcast, but this is the first time that I've been as a guest. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.
That was an energizing podcast with Deeksha Kharbanda. Please subscribe to this channel and follow it for more awesome podcasts. Opinions expressed by the guests in this podcast are their own. The host or the sponsors of the podcast do not condone the opinions expressed by the guests or the actions arising out of those opinions. Any decisions or actions that the listeners might take as a result of listening to this podcast must be based on their own judgment and will be at their own risk. The podcast host or their sponsors will not be held responsible for the consequences of any actions and or decisions taken as a result of any content in this podcast.